Shalom, and welcome to Light of the Hill Ministries. And in today's teaching, we will be talking about Sukkot, or Tabernacles as it's called. If you want to follow along, I will be posting this in the comment section below. And now, on to the teaching. The Feast of Sukkot is the last of the three pilgrim feasts that require men of Israel to go up to Jerusalem and appear before Yahweh. 3 times a year, all your male appear before Yahweh, your Elohim, in the place which he chooses, at the festival of unleavened bread, and the festival of weeks, and the festival of tabernacles. And none should appear before Yahweh empty-handed, but each one with the gift of his hand, according to the blessing of Yahweh your Elohim, which he has given you. Deuteronomy 16, verses 16 and 17. Clearly, these three feasts are connected to the agricultural life of the land of Israel. The Feast of Unleavened Bread is in the month when the barley is ripened, and it's called Abib. The Feast of Weeks is celebrated 7 weeks after the barley harvest and coincides with the wheat harvest. The Feast of Tabernacles, or Sukkot, is celebrated after the last harvest of all the other crops of the field and vineyard. 3 times a year, all of the male of Israel are to appear before Yahweh with the tithe of the land. Some scholars believed that these celebrations were the first and foremost celebration of the agricultural life and economy of the people of Canaan, only later adopted by the children of Israel and invested with historical meaning. While there is clearly an agricultural aspect to these celebrations, the Torah is explicit that the historical aspect of the feast came first. The connection between the historical reckonings and the agricultural aspects of these celebrations are not without purpose. These three feasts, unleavened bread, Shavuot, Feast of Weeks, and Sukkot, or Tabernacles, all celebrate the journey of Israel from the land of bondage to the land of promise. All 3 of these feasts are connected to some remembrance. Unleavened bread recalls the haste in which the children of Israel left Egypt. Deuteronomy 16, verse 3. Eat no unleavened bread with it. For 7 days you eat unleavened bread with it, bread of affliction, because you came out of the land of Mitzrayim in haste, so that you remember the day in which you came out of the land of Mitzrayim all the days of your life. Shavuot is the celebration of Yahweh giving the Torah to the children of Israel. While there is no biblical evidence that this was the exact day when the Torah was given to the children of Israel, we do know that it was given on the 3rd month of the year. Exodus 19, verse 1. In the 3rd month after the children of Israel had come out of the land of Mitzrayim, on this day they came to the wilderness of Sinai. Since Shavuot comes 6 weeks after the firstfruits of the barley are offered, it would place the giving of the Torah and the arrival of Israel at Sinai towards the beginning of this 3rd biblical month. Sukkot, or Tabernacle, celebrates the reality that the children of Israel lived in tents, huts, and booths as they crossed the wilderness on their way to the promised land. Leviticus 23, verses 42 and 44. Dwell in booths for 7 days. All who are native Israelites dwell in booths, so that your generations know that I made the children of Israel dwell in booths when I brought them out of the land of Mitzrayim. I am Yahweh, your Elohim. Thus did Moshe speak of the appointed times of Yahweh to the children of Israel. So we see that these three pilgrim feasts are not three separate events, but the continual telling of the story of Israel's departure from Egypt, receiving the Torah, and their journey through the wilderness. The fact that the tithe of the harvest is connected to each of these three feasts serves several purposes. First and foremost, the tithe serves as a sort of receipt to Yahweh, declaring him paid in full. The first fruit of the harvest is the evidence that Yahweh has delivered on all his promises. Exodus 6, verses 6 through 8. Say therefore to the children of Israel, I am Yahweh, and I shall bring you out from under the burdens of the Mithrites. I shall deliver you from their enslaving. I shall redeem you with an outstretched arm, and with great judgments. I shall take you as my people, and I shall be your Elohim. And you shall know that I am Yahweh your Elohim, who is bringing you out from under the burdens of the Mithrites. And I shall bring you into the land which I swore to give to Abraham, to Yitzchak, and to Yaakov, to give it to you as an inheritance. I am Yahweh. The first fruits of the land of Israel can only be brought when Israel was in the land. So it is that the first fruit is the evidence that Yahweh brought us into the land, and that the land was indeed fruitful, was indeed a fruitful land. By repeating this act from generation to generation, each generation is given the opportunity to recount the history of Israel's deliverance and redemption, as well as Yahweh's faithfulness to his promises. The fact that the tithes and offering were to be brought up to Jerusalem, or Yerushalayim as it's called in Hebrew, was likewise a reminder that Israel's survival and economy is solely dependent on the faithfulness of Yahweh Elohim. The name of Yahweh carries with it the connotation of faithfulness and keeping promises. Yahweh revealed his name to Moses, or Moshe as he's called in Hebrew, during the encounter at the burning bush. Exodus chapter 3, verses 13 and 15. And Moshe said to Elohim, see, when I come to the children of Israel, but to say to them, the Elohim of your fathers has sent me to you. And they say to me, what is his name? What shall I say to them? Elohim said to Moshe, I am that which I am. And he said, thus you shall say to the children of Israel, I am has sent me to you. And Elohim said further to Moshe, thus you are to say to the children of Israel, Yahweh, Elohim of your fathers, the Elohim of Abraham, the Elohim of Yitzchak, the Elohim of Yaakov, has sent me to you. This is my name forever, and this is my remembrance to all generations. But later Yahweh spoke to Moshe, saying, Exodus 6, verse 3, and I appeared to Abraham, to Yitzchak, and to Yaakov at El Shaddai, and by my name Yahweh was I not known to them? At first it would appear that the name Yahweh was not known by the patriarchs and their descendants until Moshe received it at Sinai. But we should remember what the scripture said earlier, Genesis 4, verses 25 and 26. And Adam knew his wife again, and she bore a son, and called his name Sheth. For Elohim has appointed me another seed instead of Havel, because Cain has slain him. And to Sheth, to him also a son was born, and he called his name Enosh. Then it was began to call on the name of Yahweh. Thus the Torah makes clear to us that the name of Yahweh was known from the time of Sheth. Clearly, the patriarchs were aware of the name of Yahweh. While the patriarchs knew the name of Yahweh, they did not yet experience or know the attributes associated with the name. For Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, the Holy One was the maker of covenants and the giver of promises. The patriarchs knew the Holy One as El Shaddai, the all-sufficient one. But the generation of Moshe and Joshua, or Yehoshua, son of Nun, came to know El Shaddai as Yahweh, the fulfiller of covenants and promises. Bringing the tithes of the firstfruits of the harvest is a declaration, therefore, that Yahweh has kept his promise. With the Feast of Sukkot, there is yet another reason for bringing the tithe of the harvest. Before we make this connection between the tithe and Sukkot, we should understand the purpose of the tithe. First, we need to understand that the tithe belongs to Yahweh. Leviticus 27, verses 30 through 32. And all the tithe of the land, of the seed of the tithe, and the fruit of the tree belongs to Yahweh. It is set apart to Yahweh. If man indeed redeems any of his tithes, he adds 1/5 to it. And the entire tithe of the land and the flock all pass under the rod. The 10th one is set apart to Yahweh. We should realize that Yahweh has no need of our tithes and offering, as the psalmist declares. Psalms 50, 11 through 12. For every beast of the field, forest is mine. The cattle on 1,000 hills. I know all the birds of the mountains, and all moving in my field are mine. If I were hungry, I would not speak to you. For the world is mine, and all that fills it. While the tithe belongs to Yahweh, we witness in the Torah that he uses it to feed those who have no inheritance in the land. Deuteronomy 14, verses 28 and 29. At the end of every third year, you bring out all the tithe of your increase of that year, and store it up within your gates. The Levite, because he has no portion or inheritance with you, and the sojourner, and the fatherless, and the widow, who are within your gates, shall come and eat and be satisfied, so that Yahweh your Elohim does bless you in all the work of your hand which you do. Deuteronomy 26, verses 12 and 13. When you have completed tithing, all the tithing of your increase in the third year, which is the year of tithing, and have given it to the Levite, to the stranger, to the fatherless, and to the widow, that they have eaten within your gates and have been satisfied, then you shall say before Yahweh your Elohim, I have put away the set-apart portion from my house, and also have given it to the Levite, and to the stranger, and to the fatherless, and to the widow, according to all your command which you commanded me. I have not transgressed your commands, nor have I forgotten. The Levite, the stranger, the fatherless, and the widow, while lacking an inheritance in the land, are all given the honor of eating at Yahweh's table from Yahweh's portion. Failure to give the tithe robs not the Levite, stranger, fatherless, and widow, but Yahweh himself. By giving the tithe, Israel is reminded that they too, like the Levite, stranger, fatherless, and widow, are completely dependent on Yahweh for existence and sustenance. By tithing, the children of Israel are also protected from selfishness and obsession with materialism. By tithing, the children of Israel are reminded that they are a people that the body of Yahweh in the world. Tithing is one of the means by which the whole body is nurtured and fed. As we have already stated, Sukkot is the memorial celebration of Israel's wilderness wandering. But like all of the feasts of Yahweh, Leviticus 23 describes the feast of Yahweh as being feasts and convocation. While generally translated as feasts, the Hebrew word moed, and it means appointed time. The Hebrew word mikra, usually translated as convocation, means rehearsal. Therefore, when we celebrate the feasts, we are keeping an appointed rehearsal. We have already seen that the feast of Yahweh celebrated some past event. Sukkot, for example, celebrated the time when Israel lived in booths, huts, and tents in the wilderness journey from Egypt to the land of promise. But, as is true for all the feasts of Yahweh, Sukkot has a present application as well. To remember means that we put back into our mind something that was once there. It is to recall in present reality some event or memory that was once occupied our thoughts and lives. By keeping the present reality, some event or memory that once occupied our thoughts and lives, by keeping the feasts of Yahweh in each generation, we bring back the memory of these events into the present collective consciousness. Yahweh did not simply command us to mentally remember the events of the wilderness wandering. All of the feasts contain in them physical aspects that we are to embody in our lives. In the Feast of Sukkot, all of the men of Israel are to go up to Jerusalem and live in booths made of branches, palms, and leaves. As each generation endeavors to build their temporary living quarters, they not only remember but also relive the events of the wilderness wandering. Each generation may then experience the same journey from Egypt to the land of promise. By keeping the appointed rehearsals of Yahweh, we find our identity among the covenant people of Yahweh. Thus, by calling and reclaiming the past, we find our place and our calling in the present. We are the people of Yahweh delivered out of the bondage of Egypt. I led for 40 years in the wilderness, providing for every seed and bringing us into the land he promised to our fathers, Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. But we should understand that rehearsals also are designed to prepare us for something yet to come, a specific appointed time. Beyond reliving the past, the celebration of Sukkot is a rehearsal for prophetic time in history. May we praise Yahweh for being so faithful in his deliverance of his people, time and time again. Yahweh truly is our banner over us and loves us. Hallelujah. Part 2, Yahweh willing, tomorrow. If you like this teaching, please comment and subscribe. And click the notification button so that you may be notified of the next teaching. Yahweh bless and shalom to your homes.